Alrighty, so we're back, and this morning I checked in early with the coach, and I do have a results update. So I'm going to bring that up right now as we're speaking. So the first thing I'll do is I will compare it to our last check-in, which was 10 days ago. So, or actually, it's saying here 13 days. So on the 7th of the 12th, which was my last check-in, my weight was 88 kilos. I should put it up here. So my weight was 88 kilos, and now I'm down to 86.6 kilos. My body fat says a drop of 1.4 kilograms. This is over a 13-day period, so nearly 2 weeks. My body fat percentage has gone from 12.8% down to 12% exactly, so a drop of 0.8% in terms of body fat. My lean mass has gone from 76.7 kilos to 76.2, so a 500 gram drop in terms of lean mass. And then my actual fat, my fat amount inside of my body has gone from 11.3 kilograms to 10.4. So a 900 gram or 0.9 kilogram drop inside of the fat element. So what ultimately do these results mean? Well, they mean nothing. They're just results. They're just feedback to tell me how my training, how my nutrition has affected my actual body composition. And that's the thing, I don't like to get too, I love the numbers and I love nerding out on it and understanding it, but realistically, they're just numbers, they're just data, and they're just feedback that the stimulus that you're providing is producing this particular outcome. In my last video, I spoke about thinking and behaving like a scientist, and I really take that same hypothesis. I've been applying it to all these different areas of my life, because a lot of the times we can get caught up in the emotion of what we're actually doing versus the actual data and what the data is telling us. Now, the problem is when you get caught in the emotion, you then start to tell yourself a story, and that story can be very dramatic. And when it is dramatic and we start telling ourselves a story, we can then start to act out of character and start thinking that we need to make dramatic changes as opposed to scientific data-driven changes that are going to help us achieve the result in a more sustainable but also efficient way. All in all, there has been some significant progress. The one thing I do want to mention that I think a lot of people might miss in terms of this is a balancing act, and there is no such thing as perfection on your body transformation journey. Now, along with dropping body fat is you want to lose as much body fat as you possibly can without losing realistically lean mass. Can you get that perfect where you just lose all body fat? Well, I absolutely wish that you could, but you do have to take some collateral damage. So I'm currently in a deficit of around 400, 500 calories. Now what that means is my body is not going to selectively just choose that when I'm in that deficit, only drop off fat. Now we're going to try and control the variables we can control, such as keeping lean mass high and muscle mass as high by utilizing the muscle. So the more that the muscle is being utilized and pushed to its maximum capacity and its maximum need, it's going to want to hang on to itself and stay inside the body. It's earning its keep. The thing about it is though, you can't get it perfect, and it is a balancing act between keeping as much muscle as you possibly can while also dropping body fat. That is why when you're doing your transformation, you can't beat yourself up if you're not seeing only fat loss and no lean muscle mass loss as well. If you are eating in a calorie deficit, your performances, your recovery is not going to be as optimal as what it possibly could be if you were eating above your maintenance and in a calorie surplus, because naturally you're not giving your body enough fuel to really optimize the situation. If you're in a growth phase, of course, you're going to be eating more, you're going to be pushing heavier weights, you're going to be able to grow that muscle. But depending on what phase you're actually in will dictate what that actually looks like for you. And so I'm in a cutting phase right now. So it's more about setting those realistic expectations around what you're actually going to achieve, or what I'm actually going to achieve during this period. The one thing I wanted to mention in this particular video is that it's fucking hard to grow muscle. It is hard to grow muscle. And the adventure, I call it an adventure, but the venture that you're embarking on by hitting the gym, this is hard stuff. Building muscle, working out with free weights, and occasionally the machine, I'm not against the machine, is really, it's hard. You're pushing your body, you're stressing your body, you're stressing your muscles, you're pushing through mind barriers, you're pushing through physical barriers, and you're purposely, it's a bit torturous really, if that's a word, you're really torturing yourself and suffering through a workout which can last anywhere, and right now it could be for between 60 and 90 minutes time for you, but really you're suffering and putting yourself through a very strenuous and difficult activity. I've learnt so much from myself through the use of the barbell, the dumbbell, and being inside the gym, more than any other book, more than any other mentor, more than any other program. And I've spent, I don't say this with pride, but I've spent a shit ton of money on those different development courses and people. And I would say the number one thing that's actually taught me more about myself is how hard I push myself in the gym, the way that I approach hard things, the willingness for myself to do those hard things, to persevere through hard times, to come back to something. There's just so much benefit that crosses over from the barbell into your everyday life that I think is just one of the most beneficial things that you can do for yourself as a guy or as a human being. And there was a time in my life where I thought absolutely everyone must lift. I remember speaking to a colleague once and saying, why doesn't everyone lift? Like, this is the greatest thing on the entire planet. And I remember it was quite humbling because he goes, because not everyone's into lifting weights. And it's really true. It's about finding your thing. And so maybe it's not your thing. Maybe that you don't like weights, and this can be a wake-up call that you don't actually have to do weights. I just like weights, and I'm going to assume that if you're watching this, you're interested in choosing that as a medium and a catalyst for change, but it absolutely doesn't have to be. But I can tell you firsthand, if it is your thing, you're starting to get into it, it is absolutely brilliant with the crossover that can have into other areas of your life. So when you're doing these workouts, you really want to be able to push yourself, and there's different ways of being able to do that. It doesn't have to be with weight on the bar, so you don't always have to go heavy. You can also manipulate your training volume, so you can start to do more sets or more reps. There's so many different ways other than just adding more weight to the bar. I am a massive believer in progressive overload, and I am a massive proponent of hiring a coach to help you do that, unless you have the skills to be able to do it yourself. But it doesn't have to necessarily be go as heavy and as hard as you possibly can until you absolutely fail. I think that's dumb training. I think that you can get away with that when you're young, you can get away with that when you're a beginner. But once you start to progress up inside of the different levels, you need to start to be smarter about your training, particularly as you start to get older. So when you are in your 30s, mid-30s and beyond, you can't just load up anymore. You can't just smash yourself every single time in the gym. It's about being much smarter with your management of your body, management of your recovery, and management of your workouts. So being able to work with a great individual, work with yourself, understand and listen to your body. What's the feedback that my body is giving me right now? But the more that you can actually get into, it's going to sound quite deep, but the more you can get into the muscle and really focus. And I'm not just talking about squeezing the muscle, because we do want to actually push yourself so you're actually lifting it. That's not just a mind-muscle connection where you can just lift a 3-kilo dumbbell and really squeeze at the top to get muscle growth. I don't believe in that. You do have to stress the muscle to the point of I'm going to force you to grow. The point that I'm trying to make here is that you don't just want to waltz into the gym and just whistle around and just go through it without an intensity. And if you think about even that word intensity, it also takes a lot of the letters of intent. So go into the gym with this transformation or whatever you're currently doing, this new lifestyle, with intent that you're going to lift this particular weight, with intent for intensity, that you're actually going to push yourself beyond failure, have an idea of how hard and how many reps that you want to do inside of your head before your set starts. You want to beat what you did the week before, and you really just want to force yourself with perfect form. We don't want to sacrifice our form, but you want to force yourself to get better and better and better every single week, because you do need to be progressing. You do need to be either lifting more load, and that can be in the form of more reps, more sets, more weight, whatever it actually is. But ultimately, if you can push yourself inside the gym to progress forward, there is absolutely no way that you cannot grow muscle. I remember I went through this crazy workout with Chris Gethin. Now, if you don't know who that is, he was a bodybuilding.com presenter and had all these different programs and has his own methodology. And one time he was at the gym that I was working at the time, and the person who was supposed to do the workout for a TV program called Max's Muscle TV didn't actually show up, or they were injured. And so then I was there, and look, I'm not any sort of bodybuilder by any stretch of the imagination, but I was there, I was in reasonably okay shape, like an athletic type shape, and Chris actually took me through the workout. If you go into the archives of the internet, you can probably find it. And I can tell you this is, hands down, the most grueling workout. There's been a couple, but this is top 3. Grueling, this is top 1, but there's been about 3 that are just sticking in my mind as horrific, traumatic events. And this workout was absolutely insane. Was it the smartest programming? Probably not for a long-term basis, but if they say shock the muscle, this absolutely shocked the hell out of my muscles. And all we did was leg press, and we pyramided up with the sets and also with the weights. So normally if you're doing a pyramid set, as you're going up with the weights, you're actually dropping, up with the reps, you're actually dropping the weight. But in this case, we were actually going up and then putting the weight up, and then we came back down, and we're having short rest periods and all this just really crazy stuff. And I'm not sure if it's really going to promote muscle growth on a long-term basis, but damn, it was absolutely shocking to my muscles at the time. We finished the leg press. I was absolutely toast. We then did a similar thing with the calf raises, and I can tell you, I could not walk for the next 3 weeks properly from my calves. It felt like I absolutely tore them off the bone. Like I was completely just rendered obsolete. My calves were obsolete in terms of walking. I remember walking like this the whole time. It took me maybe 15 minutes to walk to the bank once, and it was a 5-minute walk normally. Now, can you train at that intensity all the time? Absolutely not. And I was 23 years old or 25 years old at the time, and you can get away with that, but it's not something you can do on a sustainable basis. But it did teach me about how hard I can actually push, and when I need to go to that place inside of my mind, I can absolutely go there. It's about emotional management and being able to draw in the right emotions that we need to elicit a response. So if you need to think of a memory that makes you really angry, or a person that's really pissed you off, or something that's happened during your day where you just want to rip someone's head off, or kill them, punch them, whatever, or you imagine that someone's got a gun down your mum's throat, whatever it needs to be for you. And this is illustrating a point. And if you are scared of going to those dark places in your mind, then that's a whole different conversation that we can have. We want to be able to draw up the emotion so we can ultimately use it, harness it, and push it into the barbell, the dumbbell, or whatever mechanism we're currently using to stimulate the muscle, to stimulate the growth so we can keep muscle and lose fat. So that's a little bit of an update and a little bit more about the training philosophy that I personally adhere to that's helping me lose body fat, keep muscle, and ultimately get in incredible shape. 12%, we are now on the entrance into Christmas. It's Christmas in 5 days' time. I'm going to keep eating regular foods for the next 4 days. I'll probably have a little bit of a diet break on Christmas Day. I'm actually sneakily going to try and keep within my macros. But on Christmas Day, I'm going to let go a little bit and then back on the train. My son is due to be born somewhere between the 29th of December and the 4th of January, so super close to that. That's going to bring a whole new set of challenges, purely from a training perspective, a whole new set of challenges in terms of parenting, but also a whole bunch of beauty. Just family is just a very important part of my life. But being able to navigate training around that, I don't know what that looks like right now. I'm hoping I can still be able to provide specific updates, hoping I can still be able to continue hitting the gym. It may be a little bit strange during that time period. I'm just going to roll with the punches. I'm going to see what happens. And realistically, this isn't my entire life. I'm doing this because it's a labor of love, not just the sharing, but the actual workouts. I love working out. It's part of who I am. But this is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and I'm going to try and weave that into the life that I actually live, and I know that I'm going to be able to do that. It's just more so being adaptable where that actually is. So I'll check in with you in the next one. If you've got any questions, drop them below or hit me up on Instagram, which is instagram.com/HaydenWilsonX. See ya.